A very elating good evening to all. At the outset, let me express my deep gratitude to Dr. J.S. Sharma, presently who is the President of Indian Association of Air Pollution Control, and who has been my mentor also. At the same time, he has spearheaded the Department of Environment of ONGC. So let's have a big round of applause for Dr. J.S. Sharma. Today's topic that has been assigned to me is the decarbonization initiative in upstream oil and gas sector. I'll not go much into the nitty and gritty of data because already there have been a lot of feeding about the data regarding this emission, greenhouse gas emissions, all those. Maybe I like to skip all those, but then definitely I'll stress on some of the data where it has not been deliberated earlier. So I think GHG emissions have been already told a number of times. This is regarding annual carbon dioxide emission from fossil fuel world scenario. What is the world scenario? See, as far as the international transport route is concerned, that almost gives emission to the tune of almost 35 billion tons, which is the highest. Then followed by Oceania. Oceania comprises of 14 countries. That includes Australia, New Zealand, and other countries. So they almost tune, the other curve you can see, they almost emit to the tune of 30 billion tons. As far as the Asia is concerned, excluding China and India, they have been found to emitting between 25 to 30 billion tons. When it comes to China, it has been spread over a period of time from 1750 to 2020, but the most of the data that have been accounted is from 1850 to 2020. So see where India stands. India is almost on the verge of this annual emission is 15 billion tons. As far as the developed nations like USA, Europe, and European nations are there, now they are at a lower range in comparison to the China and India. Now, the main important point which I wanted to focus, see if you will calculate the last, right from the 1950 to 2020 figures of emissions, global hydrocarbon emission, then a very interesting figure that I have calculated, that US in a span of 70 years has done the emission to the tune of almost 416 billion tons. Whereas China, in a same span of years, almost it has emitted 235.56 billion tons. When it comes to India, see, we have emitted in last 50 years 2,597 million tons, which is almost 0.62% of total US emission. See, where do we stand and where the developed country has emitted to what extent. See, decarbonization, there has been a lot of talks. There is no point again repeating the same things. Now, even this priority levers to achieve 2050 stretch. See, basically, I wanted to show you a model where we are now at 2019, and when we have moved to 2050 with the same continued level of emission, then where we are going to reach, and in case we infuse these all priority levers like renewable sources of fuel, grid flexibility, then gas to transition fuel. Different sectors are there like hydrocarbon, power, light vehicles and all. So if we use of all these energy efficient technology, uses of all these app technologies are used, infused, then at the end of 2050, we will have very incremental value which can be seen on the extreme right side. Now, this is the scenario of climate resilient development. See, we always talk of climate issue. Now, probably our Honorable Prime Minister at the Glasgow meeting has emphatically stressed that we need to more work towards climate resilient. We have to prepare ourselves before the occurrence of such calamity or such scenario. So the most important thing that we have to prepare ourselves for that. So we have to build on, focus on climate resilient development. So basically this is also a model which I picked up from the International Energy Agency. So what this model says, if we follow all green practices, like whatever the sustainable lifestyle, eco-styles are there, all app technology, efficient use of energy, then we see that the global mean and rise temperature can be restricted to the level of almost 1.5 degrees centigrade, which tantamounts to achieving all 17 development goals, which was coined in the year 2015 in New York during the United Nations Summit. Now, if we continue to move with the same pace, do you see the red lines? There you see that we, again, the climate resilient development has gone to the very lower level, and here we are able to meet hardly out of 17, we are able to meet only two development goals. So this basically a model gives a glimpse. What will happen if we do not start conserving, using energy efficient technologies, best practices, best environmental practices. So all those things have to be adopted in letter and spirit. Now these are the 17 development goals which we have discussed. Now again, see, as far as the hydrocarbon extraction and refining industry is concerned, methane leaks and venting is almost to the tune of 50%. Operational energy emissions, that goes to the level of 40%, and others include these emissions from domestic buildings, etc., and that is almost to the tune of 10%. Now the very apt question is 2050 end game for the hydrocarbon industry? So there's a lot of talks are being going on that we need to drastically cut on the fossil fuels. So is that 2050, because most of the Western countries have given their target of net zero emission by 2050. Now, as far as the India is concerned, is 2050 is the end game? Certainly not. It is not. Then what is the options we have? See, pivotal role of energy transition has to pitch in a big way. We have to move from the traditional approach of these, then we have to move to the energy efficient, plus all those new technologies, new sources of energies, those things have to be taken into account. Then increase focus on the process efficiency and demand management. Then the other aspect is expand into decarbonization with due focus on the harnessing green energy. Again, there has been a lot of talks on the green hydrogens, a very, very resounding options that is with us. Then develop energy efficient and economic solutions for the customers. Now these measures for decarbonization. See, tackling methane leaks, almost reducing venting and flaring would decrease. This I am particularly talking about the this upstream industries. Could decrease sector emissions by up to the level of 50%. The other methodology that can be adopted to reduce the energy intensity of operation, then increase deployment of carbon capture underground storage technology could reduce sector emission by up to 80 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent per year by 2030. Then refine transition to gas portfolio strategies to reflect the evolving power landscape. Then maintain market share in the power generation by moving into renewable, which includes offshore, wind, solar, and geothermal. Then large-scale plantation activities for carbon sequestration. Again, here I like to, because there have been not many talk about the technology, but at the same time, we need to focus on the carbon sequestration. That means, see, India at the moment has 24 to 25% of forest and tree cover. So at this juncture also, we are falling short of almost 7 to 8%. So we have to do plantation also in a big way, depending upon the area and the regions. We have to develop those plants who have got a good potential of carbon dioxide sequestration. Now, as far as our organization ONGC is concerned, the energy strategy for 2040 is to build a 5 to 10 gigawatt capacity portfolio with due focus on the offshore wind, solar, and other sources of energy. Now, other initiatives include Global Methane Initiative. We have developed an initiative with the United States Environment Protection Agency to reduce global fugitive methane emission to enhance economic growth, promote energy security, and improve the environment. Now, during 2020 and 21, this GMI survey was conducted at 3 installations in ONGC at Cambe Asset, Air Production Installation of Ahmedabad Asset. Under this program, approximately 20.4 million metric tons of standard cubic meter of methane gas leak was prevented since inception. Now, with regard to the gas flare reductions, see, flaring of natural gas is a common practice in oil industry. Now, reducing gas flaring has been always an area of thrust for ONGC. Now, through appropriate means, venting of these low pressure gases in other methodology, we have reduced from 648 million metric standard cubic meter in 2015-16 to the 487 standard cubic meter. That amounts to almost decrease of 25% in a span of 5 years. So that's a commendable achievement. Then, with regard to the carbon capture, storage, and utilization, ONGC has signed MOU with the Indian Oil Corporation Limited for the captured carbon dioxide to be injected in our injection wells, and project has a potential for sequestration of almost 5 to 6 million tons of carbon dioxide by the year 2040. Now, replacement of conventional lights have almost taken off by LED lights, and which has led to the reducing emissions by approximately 46,740 tons of carbon dioxide every year. With regard to the decarbonization, again, with regard to the solar power projects, we have installed 31 megawatt and another 20 megawatt solar projects are underway, which is going to be commissioned shortly. As far as the wind power projects is concerned, we have 2 wind power plants, one at Bhuj, that is 56 megawatt, and another is 51 megawatt, and another is Jaisalmer at 102 megawatts. So total installed capacity till date is 153 megawatt. So total renewable portfolio with ONGC we have is around 184 megawatt. Now, it's a very heartening note to announce that ONGC taken up India's first geothermal energy project in Ladakh on pilot basis and plan to drill geothermal well and establish 1 megawatt power plant at Puga, Ladakh. All this clearances, wildlife clearances have been already obtained, and they are going to kick off shortly. Then we have a green buildings across Delhi, Mumbai, Dehradun, and Calcutta, which saves energy to the tune of 50 to 60%, harvests 100% water, saves water, rainwater, they discharge zero sewage. So these are the all beauties of these green buildings. Then we have undertaking a very challenging plantation at Bhotaru. It's a totally desert region, totally sand region, and we have done in association with the Sankalp Taru, and with the help of the community, we have planted specific kind of plants which can survive, plus some kind of fruit bearing also plants have been planted. Almost it has been done on the pilot basis, and around 6,500 native trees have been planted, and those trees will sequester around 792,000 kg of carbon annually. This is small scale, maybe that will be scaling up this project in years to come. Now, what we are looking for to have a win-win kind of situation. To have a win-win kind of situation, these are the 4-pronged approach which I think we need to resort to. The first is maintain 2 distinct operating models simultaneously. Means benchmarking what we are doing, and then we have to see simultaneously the other source of energy, how they are faring. So benchmarking has to be a very important parameter while evaluating it. The second is lead with both the molecule and the electron. See, being a chemistry person, I always say molecule perspective, at the same time you have to see the macroscopic, that is the electronic perspective. Both the perspectives have to be taken into consideration while giving the final shape to any project. Now, the third approach should be the build a resilient portfolio of oil and gas assets alongside emission management capability, which I have already elaborated, like carbon capture storage facilities. Then this whatever the carbon dioxide is stored, that has to be reused, which have been already discussed and deliberated a lot in the previous sessions. Now create an integrated solution combining multiple sources of energy. So this is the four-pronged strategy that we must resort to, and that will lead to a win-win situation. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.